Good morning, it's 9 a.m. We're here in Keene Valley, beautiful Keene Valley, New York. I'm Matt Hume, I'm here with Nick Blackwell. We're here checking out this beautiful site. We have a carriage house and a new house that we're going to be designing and building. Carriage house is pretty much completed, the design's complete. We're going to be staking it out today, digging some test holes, making sure everything's good to go with that. We're going to be starting the construction on that project within the next month. And then right after that, we're going to transition into building the house. It's going to be basically replacing the house that you see here. And we're going to be really focusing on emphasizing the site. They have a beautiful view, as you can see, overlooking the mountains and the river below. So we're going to take some really nice site documentation of all that today, and hopefully just take this project to the next level over the course of the next few months. So the major reason that we're here today is to really take a critical look at the site. And it's important that we're here this time of year because, we're just getting that fresh melt off of the snow. So we get a really good sense of like what the wettest condition in this time of year is going to look like. We're kind of high and relatively dry here, which is nice to know. But as you can see, this is where the carriage house is going to be. And it's a little bit low. So we're going to be staking this out and we're going to be shooting some elevations just to see exactly what height we want the foundation to be at, because we want to sort of marriage the house and the carriage house together. We want them to be, set at the right heights so that one doesn't overtake the other. And also we want to be thinking about site drainage away from the carriage house. So obviously we have a little bit of a hollow here. That's going to really affect some of the decisions that we make just in terms of how high exactly this thing goes. And it looks to us, just by, without even measuring it, that some of these trees may have to go. You can kind of see these ones back here. We've already kind of painted them in white. It's likely they're going to have to be taken down just so we don't run the risk of them being too close to this new carriage house. One of the challenges with this project in particular was the owner originally came to us and they said, hey, we want to rehab this house and add to it to suit our needs for our retirement. And, after taking a careful look at this house, it's really just a cottage. It's a beautiful old Adirondack style cottage, but some of the challenges that we discovered with this property in particular is that it was never one structure. It was kind of all put together slowly over time, addition on top of addition. And honestly, looks are a little deceiving because the entire house is built on piers, and a lot of the piers are in really tough shape underneath the house. So we kind of had this weird moment with the owner where we were like, look, given your objectives for what you want to do, it's probably best that we kind of take a lot of the character that is embedded in this old cottage and really bring that into the design for the new building. And there's a lot of little nuances to this site, a lot of little challenges, if you will. One being the location of the utilities. We have a well here that we have to be really mindful of in terms of this planning process. And then we also have on the opposite side of the house is where the existing septic is, which we also have to be conscious of because we want to be able to utilize a lot of these utilities in the new build. This property in particular is really kind of exceptional, like a lot of these properties in the Adirondacks. As you can see here, the house's positioning is really quite awesome. Its relationship to the side hill right here. And just the view that opens up beyond, this gully here. You can kind of see all the trees and the beautiful flowing river. it's just a really incredible spot. So as far as sites, I mean, as an architect and a builder, I don't think you could ask for a better location. So another thing that we're taking a look at while we're here today has a lot to do with the house's proximity to, this cliff's edge right here. As we walk along here, we want to get as close to this edge as possible, right? So that we can kind of expose more of the house to this amazing site condition. But we have to be mindful of undermining. This is going to be a big concern of ours as we design and build this future house. We're going to be kind of pushing it towards this cliff edge, especially because of this view. So we're going to have to be really careful in our design work here, just in terms of maintaining the integrity of the structure, and also working with the local parks to make sure that everything that we do fits within their, spectrum. And it's moments like these that I think are probably my favorite about the Adirondacks. I mean, if you look at this moss-covered ground, it's just a really, really beautiful. And then as you look through the trees here, you get a feel for the Adirondacks. It's just, everything's a little muted. If you were here, you could really hear with the rain just how special places like this are. So we feel really privileged to be able to have the opportunity to work with the client on a project, especially in this area. All right, so Nick and I, we spent some time here really carefully measuring and marking out the placement of the carriage house. It's a 40 by 40 building, so you can see these stakes that we have on all four corners. Once we were able to set the location, we initially had it set about 8 more feet this way, but we had a lot of prime real estate that way still, and we decided to shift this about 8 feet. And that's nice to know. That's why these site visits are really important, because now we can go back to the drawing board and take a look at the site plan. And what's nice about us being able to shift this carriage house 8 more feet this way is it'll relieve some of the pressure on the house. So if we need to move the house a little bit further this direction, it gives us the ability to do that. Once we had the 4 corner pins set, the next thing that we did was we got our laser level out, and we wanted to really start thinking about what elevation we needed this carriage house to be at. Some of the things that we really consider when we're looking at the elevation is, site topography. We want to make sure that none of the landscape is flowing water towards the building. So we want to elevate the building a little bit and pitch everything away from the building. So you can see here on our storyboard, we set these for our excavators before they begin their work, and we like to do this personally because we like to set the elevations ourselves. We don't let those decisions be made by anybody else. You can see here we've set our finished floor height. We're using a superior wall system, which we'll be talking about in later videos. We chose the superior wall system because of the climate, and this time of year it's really cold, it's hard to pour concrete, so there's an advantage to that system. But we set the finished floor here, and this will be the top of our stem wall for the superior wall foundation. As long as this isn't messed with, this will give us all we need to begin the project. Our excavator can come in, he can set the basement depth to whatever based on this mark right here. And then we're gonna go back to the drawing board, like I said, and we're gonna have to do a little bit of work just at looking at the cut and fill situation here. We've got some low spots down in here. We got some high spots over here. We got a few trees that definitely have to come out, maybe even a couple of more. We need to protect their assets. So thinking about all those things when we come on these site visits is really, really important. you know, it's likely a lot of this fill won't be able to be used in this new building to backfill, just because you can see what we're dealing with here. It's a lot of large rocks and debris that you just can't have against your building. So our strategy that we're thinking about right now is to use a little bit of it to build up behind the building. You can see there's a little bit of a low spot, but the majority of it we're going to stage over here, and what we're going to propose is some sort of a berm that they can plant with some nice ferns and stuff like that. It'll be a nice sort of foreground to the building as you kind of come into the property from the roadway. So taking a look at the foundation, the location, shifting it a little bit, getting a sense for the elevations and the cut and fill options here. You know, the next thing we begin to think about is the septic. We have a very small septic system that has to be installed to service this carriage house. So we have one of two options. We can either plot out a piece of land here. Right now we're kind of looking into this area potentially for a separate septic system just for this small carriage house. We got one of two options. This isn't the best ground for a septic system given the condition of the soil. So another option we're starting to consider is a pump tank. That's where we may consider going out the opposite side of the building to a tank and then a pump tank that would take the effluent, pump it across the property and over into the existing septic. That's starting to look like a little bit better of an option for me as now we're here on the site. And that's another reason why these site visits are really, really important. They help us as planners come up with the best options right out of the gate. You know, before we get too far along in the project, we can get our eyes on it and make sure that we have the best options put forth for the owner. So another major reason why these site visits are so important is we get to better understand the architectural features that will sort of respond to the site. And in this case, we have a really, really unique site. We had the gully, we have the river, which you might be able to hear over the camera, maybe even see it down in there. But it's, you know, like anything, it's much better in person. And then beyond the trees, you can't really see it right now because it's a really kind of hazy day, foggy, rainy, but there is actually a mountain beyond that's visible from the house here. So this orientation has always been a really important part of this design, and we'll be sharing some of that documentation with you soon. But we're kind of taking some hints from the original house because, you know, even though we're replacing it, there is some really well thought out features of this little house that we really appreciate. You know, they have the bigger windows that are facing the water, and especially this one over here, which the owners have always cited as probably their favorite feature of the entire house. It's this big window that you see here. It's just perfectly placed to give you that really awesome view that they're looking to maximize.